Hey, it's Phil Harvey here at Light Reading, and we are at Mobile World Congress Los Angeles. I'm joined by our interview guest today, Bill Lambertson from IBM, and our guest editor, Kelsey Zeiser from Light Reading. How is this going to work? Kelsey, you got any questions?
Thanks for joining
Kelsey.
us, Bill. It's good to see you.
My pleasure as always.
Yeah, so we heard there's some news on an update with partnership with Boston Dynamics, and I think everyone knows them well from the robot dog. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on with them?
To see Spot run, so Spot our dog. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I think the partnership with Boston Dynamics is really pretty cool, and it's really practical too. If you think about the capabilities, really it's an edge computer, and we're able to, with IBM Analytics and AI, be able to deploy machine learning models down to Spot, where they can use it with different kinds of sensors. So it could be acoustic or thermal detection. And the use cases that we see, and we're working with some clients already today, the use cases we see is around really hazardous environments. So one would be an example of a large energy company where the robotic dog will need to make passes around the property to be able to look at different events and different things that are going on and inspect. Another example with Spot is we're working with a large chemical company, and clearly we want Spot to be able to encounter if there's any chemical leaks or things so that it doesn't affect a person. And so that's a really good example of how a robot can actually perform the job that a human does, probably better.
Yeah, it keeps them out of harm's way, and then also you can, with the various sensors they're equipped with, you can analyze a lot of what's going on before, maybe even faster than somebody who was down there in person or something like that.
Yeah, and people have asked me, well, why not a drone, right? Instead. But in some of these facilities, you need to be able to get down underneath steel girders and things to really be able to inspect it. You need to be able to walk upstairs, cages. So those are the kinds of environments where a robotic dog would work better than a drone as well.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
And I also know you have, switching gears a little bit, but working with Palo Alto on 5G security. Tell us a little bit about that partnership, because we hear a lot that 5G is inherently secure. So why is it important to work with a company like Palo Alto on that?
Yeah, so I think I would say that it's inherently secure when it's up and running.
Okay.
So what we're doing with Palo Alto, though, is building out the environments. So there's really two phases. Using our Cloud Pak for network automation, we're able to deliver and deploy a secure container workload that's firewalled using Palo Alto. So it's a secure container. And then be able to deploy the network on top of that. So from mobile to RAN, right? And then be able to manage that as a slice, as a 5G slice, a secure 5G slice across, and to be able to maintain it and test it before we actually go into deployment. So after it's deployed, now it's real secure for the general public, but we're working with Palo Alto to secure the network itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a little preventative maintenance, if you will, on 5G. You've been involved in the telco side of cloud for several years, quite a bit longer than a lot of folks in the industry, and in the time that you've been kind of, I guess, helping telecom companies sort of figure out, what they need the cloud for, how to approach it, what to use. Have you seen, any changes in their attitude toward the cloud, or their, how quickly they've embraced it, in terms of, competition or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I predicted this a number of years ago. So you're starting to see a lot of real use cases and adoption of public cloud, not just private clouds. Because private cloud has been around for a long time, especially in the area of VMs running VNFs for the network environment. But the use of public cloud has started to really starting to come into mainstream. And with the release of platforms that Gartner describes as distributed cloud, you have capabilities like IBM Cloud Satellite or AWS Outpost or Google Anthos. Those are able to extend the public cloud capabilities on-prem in a very secure environment.
Right.
But I think one of the biggest things, Phil, that I've seen change so far is not just the technology adoption, but telco operators are now starting to understand and recognize that they need to change the way they manage environments and a DevSecOps and a pipeline approach to really cloud speed and cloud scale. And automation is a key part of all of that. And that's one of the main themes that we have that were announced at Mobile World Congress here, is really IBM automation for hybrid cloud, multi-cloud 5G.
Okay. Can you give me a little more info on, or just to dive down one more layer about when we're talking about automation, because that obviously could mean a lot of things at different parts of the network. What's kind of the immediate pain point for operators? Is it mostly related to their transition to 5G, or is it just general operations?
It's really both, and if I broke them down separately, the first one is from a deployment standpoint, you wanted to be able to deploy at scale, and we have built into our Cloud Pak, we have what's called intent-based orchestration. So you don't have to define through a scripting process of every condition that you want to be deployed.
Okay.
You define the end state, and then the automation and the AI actually configures the environment for that end state. So it might take this way the first time, it might go this way the second time, but it'll always get to the end state. So it allows operators to be able to deploy things at scale. And then the second part is operations, because now all of these network functions are running on classical cloud hardware, right? So it's basically IT, but running networks. And so how do you ensure that containers are up and running? How do you ensure that your servers aren't starved, or that there's not memory leaks, or there's not performance problems? You need to be able to automate the operational environments so that you're not just flooded with all of these alerts that's going on. You need to be able to shut things down and rebuild them very quickly, when we call it closed loop automation from an operation or day two support environment. So two good examples.
I've heard of intent-based network as focused on arriving at specific business outcomes. Is that a fair characterization?
I haven't heard it actually described that way. From a business perspective, our definition of intent-based orchestration is, again, it's most orchestrators today are policy-based or script-based. So you have to define what you want it to do. With intent-based orchestrator, we actually use AI to define the route that it goes to get there, what it needs to build to create either a deployment model or an upgrade, right, or a deletion of that particular service. So we define the end state that we want it to perform, and then the orchestrator itself does the job. Sure, it improves the business outcomes by being able to be more efficient and to be able to be more automated.
Right.
Yeah, Kelsey's always worried about money.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we got that.
How do we make the money?
I guess we could end on this. What's the biggest sort of opportunity for IBM in the cloud? Because the company touches so many parts of of the IT universe and computing, and also now with Red Hat, the software side of things. Does that all come together in one opportunity, or is it just sort of in helping telcos just sort of get from point A to point B more quickly?
Yeah, I think I would say that the biggest opportunity for IBM is the ability to provide an open hybrid approach for 5G networks. It allows operators to pick and choose the network equipment providers that they want to work with. It gives them the opportunity to pick and choose the hyperscaler that they want to deploy on. And many operators have more than one hyperscaler that they're strategically aligned with. But with those choice, it still gives them consistency and control of the platform layer, so the management layer around where those network functions run. And so it provides them with the assurance and the security that they need to be confident in their open hybrid cloud approach. That's really the biggest opportunity that IBM combined with Red Hat bring to the service provider space, is that choice for open hybrid cloud platforms.
Sounds great. Bill, thanks for taking the time, and it was great to see you in person.
Exactly. It's nice to put a face to a name, and I really appreciate it. Always enjoy speaking with you.
All right,
Thanks so much.